Last semester, some of you may remember a project I did about nostalgia, the feeling of joy you get from something or attached to moments in time. Today, however, I'm going to bring you a similar subject, about the collection of stuff. The main thing I collect is video games. I have a large amount of books and movies as well, and you saw some of the other toys and trinkets I have. But why do we want this stuff? It's more than just nostalgia in this case. So why is it we collect so much stuff in our lives? Does it buy us happiness? Do we obtain friends from it? What is it about a collection of things that makes us happy? Or shall I say, makes us feel happy when really all we're doing is filling a void? In my life, my dad and his dad, as well as my mother-in-law, were all hoarders. What is a hoarder, you ask? Someone who collects all the things for themselves. If you've seen shows like TLC's Hoarders, it generally looks gross and unkempt, possibly full of filth in some cases, but that's not the case in all situations. First of all, people who are hoarders suffer from a disease of compulsive hoarding, something could attribute like OCD or other mental disorders, but basically, it's a want of things and a way of being happy, or so the person thinks, is by owning things often of no real value, but in the mind of a hoarder, it has value. Ask a hoarder why they keep trash, and they'll give you a reason why they need it. And if you're wondering, controlling a need to hoard and even doing something that a person feels better about by calling it collecting is very difficult. Truth time. Pictures of me in my room as a kid don't exist. And mostly it's because I had a room full of everything. And I didn't want to get rid of it. I remember once cleaning my room and inviting my mom in with a handwritten sign that said, "Surprise!" I'm sure she quickly looked in my closet and found that I had stuffed everything in there. She often tells the story of me hiding in these bushes and peeking into my window to see what she was throwing out. That is the behavior of a hoarder. So I mentioned one of the major components of hoarding and collecting is things like OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder is characterized by unreasonable thoughts and fears that lead to compulsive behaviors. OCD often centers on themes such as fear of germs or the need to arrange objects in a specific manner. Where does OCD hit my collecting? Alphabetizing, for one, is how I organize games and movies. For someone with this, the time to meticulously sort things brings them joy. It's relaxing for those people. And if you don't do this much sorting of your stuff and wonder how someone like me feels,
it drives me batty.
Okay, so I seem to be down on collecting things. But really, is it bad to collect something? Well, no. Ask a sports fan if they like that foul ball they caught. Of course they told you yes, and it'll be even more special if it has an autograph on it. Do you have a collection of something? We all do. But a collection isn't a bad thing. It's really how you treat the collecting of things. Okay, now to mention the words of Marie Kondo. Hold it, and if it does not spark joy, get rid of it. Now, for someone with OCD, that is hard. I've told you my love is of games. I've shown a few of you a collection of my game systems from Atari to Switch. Some days, I get a wild idea to get rid of it all. Why not? I'll never play them all. So I pack them all up in a box, put them away in the attic, and say I'll never play them again. And then, in the end, a week or two later, I get them out, plug them back in so they can collect dust and drive up my electric bill. So, I will likely never part with this because it does bring me happiness. Even things like the CDI that has no nostalgic value to me, and I haven't played it in years, it's still cool to say I have it. There's another component to collecting and the darker side hoarding, and that's a support system. And my wife doesn't play as many games these days, but is there to support me and my collecting of games and systems. Every time I have suggested on hanging it up and getting rid of it all, she's the one who encourages me not to and says I'd regret it. The idea of just giving stuff up doesn't come easy. Does anything here spark joy? It's hard to say, but I feel it gives me something. So, this brings us full circle to how I concluded the trip down nostalgia. There's really no shame in the act of collecting, but really, it's how you go about it. Keeping only things that mean something to you, the things that keep you happy. The real thing is to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. Be aware of how intense your love of stuff is, and seek a support system for the things you like. Talking about the things you like is one of the biggest keys to happiness when collecting.